Had an interesting meeting on the weekend with some prospective purchasers and their parents. They're going to give their son a wad of money, and they were talking about asset protection. There was a couple of little tips that I was talking about, what I've seen people do. Going to share that with you today. Stay tuned.
Good morning, Mr. Novak. Great topic this morning.
Billy's vibing. Billy, you were vibing on Saturday night.
Yeah, I was vibing. Deals were flowing. First home buyers were out in force.
You were like, love where I am, love life. Well done to you. And Billy's been an agent for a good, 4 or 5 years now, everyone, and works a lot with first home buyers. So we thought it'd be appropriate for us to talk about first home buyers and asset protection this morning. What do you know about it, Billy Bob? Old man in a young man's body?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a joint venture, and kids often come to the parents saying, "Can you give me some assistance?" And it's not always money. Sometimes it's about being a guarantor or just fighting for them in the corner. And I think parents can sometimes be a little bit nervous just because at the end of the day they share some kind of responsibility. And so even more so when they have a number of kids, they're like, well, if we do it for one, we've got to do it for maybe kid 2 and 3, and
That's the golden rule.
So there's different ways you can structure that kind of help, and it's not always money. That I think that's the big takeout from today. We're going to give you some other ways you can help your kids, but also shielding your investment, because the parents do look at this with a broader lens. What if marriages break down? What if the property is sold later on? That kind of stuff, tax implications, and then it impacts their financial situation.
And I think if you're giving away money for free to an ex-wife or an ex-husband, I think that's when parents, it stings parents when they've tried to do something right for their kids, give them a helping hand, and then they lose it out the back door with potentially an ex getting a de facto or divorce sort of relationship. So there are measures we're going to talk about where you can, in some ways, look after little Johnny with his first home buyer as a first home buyer, or little Sarah. But that's all possible to do, because parents are cutting checks sometimes for 50 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand. And they don't want part of those proceeds to go to a new partner, which becomes an old partner.
Yeah. So the big first one this morning, a formal loan agreement. It's not a gift, and why that matters is if the money's to be considered a gift, it can be split in a relationship breakdown. If it's a loan, it can be protected.
Golden rule, guys and girls. So if you're going to give mums and dads out there, if you're going to give the kids money, put a formal document in place for it, an enforceable one at that. If you choose to enforce it, get a lawyer. Explain to a lawyer what the method of the document, what it's meant to be doing. Make sure it's the lawyer that has capacity to do it. Sometimes conveyancers won't understand the logistics, but a lawyer will. So make sure the person doing it's got the capacity to write a nice loan document up for you, and off you go.
Yep, that's a good one.
You can also make it with, you can trigger payments. You can also make it with zero repayments, because it may actually be a gift, really. You may say, look, if the loan's terminated, if the property's sold, that loan has to come back in full plus interest. And that can well protect the kids if they're in a ill relationship.
Yeah. Something my parents helped me with was a guarantor scenario where the property family home was used as a guarantor for the new mortgage, and then it only took 3 years for the first home buyer purchase to build enough equity and pay down the mortgage enough where that actually came off, their title altogether. That's another way it can be done. There was zero money given, but a massive help nonetheless.
I know you pretty well, Billy. You look a little bit chuffed, a little bit proud.
I'm really proud, and really proud. It only happened 2 weeks ago. Finally.
Massive. So can you explain how that works with the so instead of parents giving over cash, which obviously can be at risk, if due to an ill relationship, de facto relationship, parents can give what? A guarantee.
Guarantee against the family property. Now, in this case, it worked well. There was no money given aside, but I guess there was an element of trust from mum and dad, knowing that mortgage repayments would be done on time. They had visibility over all of that as well, and they were side by side me on the paperwork from the bank side of things, not to do with the title, so it didn't have any capital gains implications, didn't have any of their borrowing capacity implications. It was just on the bank side of things. And then once the property reached an 80% loan to value ratio, so the mortgage comes down a little bit, the price goes up a little bit in terms of what the bank's valuing the property at, they come off that as a guarantor altogether. And the way the Sydney market's moving at the moment, 2 to 3 years is the average, and was proved really, really effective.
Out of interest, were mum or dad stressed about that at any time, beginning or during or end?
I think beginning, the uncertainty, not knowing what how to set it up, that was what a good broker and a good solicitor were able to do, and give them that peace of mind and advice, because they asked the questions, what if it goes wrong, and so that was thoroughly explained. But as a purchaser, it made a massive difference for me because I didn't pay lender's mortgage insurance, so I was able to extend myself a bit more. Let the buyer, let the children take the risk on, so to speak, by taking a slightly bigger mortgage, but getting into the first home sooner with no lender's mortgage insurance. And that can be the same as sort of 10, 20 grand. A lot of money.
How did you feel about it?
Oh, I feel
Were you stressed
grateful.
before, during, or after about it?
Not at all. No, not at all. I just was like, whatever it takes to get the loan, whatever it takes to get the property, I'll worry about the repayments later. That's the thing I do have control over. What I don't have control over is what the banks are going to look at as a green light, and what they're going to just not look at altogether. So there's only so much you can control at the end of the day, but that's one of them.
Mum and dad must be proud.
Yeah, it's good. They've actually just sold their property. They've now moved on. But Mossman, my place, is on its own 2 legs, so it's good.
Great story, guys and girls. So that is asset protection for first home buyers, by looking after it a little bit by way of a loan document. And we talk about not even putting in the cash, putting in the guarantee in order to have that asset protection of future partners for first home buyers.
Yeah, there you go. Need any help, give us a buzz. Love to talk about more.
Have a great day.
See ya.
Yeah.